Hey, welcome to another edition of Breaking Protocol from the Razzle Dazzle Show, our ongoing miniseries where we break down key updates and design questions straight from the development of Shade Protocol. These episodes are built around the game's community engagement series Devs Ask You, or DAUs, where Kendall and the team not only show us changing, but invite fans to shape the journey with them. Today's spotlight is on a brand new enemy being designed from the ground up. It's the Grappler. It's a mid-range mechanical threat with a singular, focused purpose, and it introduces unblockable control into encounters in a way that changes how player must think about space, timing, and risk. Be sure to follow us and Little Legendary on our socials and YouTube channel, and be sure to join the Shade Protocol Discord server to follow new DAUs, vote in polls, and share your voice directly with the dev team. Links to everything will be in the description down below, and with all that being said, it's Razzle Dazzle time! So Kendall, the Grappler comes from a different faction and purpose than the other replicas we have seen so far. It is sentient, it is focused, and task-driven. I understand it's important that its visual design and the animations and behavior conveys like a alien intent so players can immediately recognize and learn how to read it. I want to start by asking about its identity. How did you land on the Grappler's faction identity, and why does it make it separate from other replicas?
Definitely, that was one of the key things of designing this enemy. Our goal is, when you look at the other enemies that people have seen, mainly what's on the first trailer, most of those enemies, not all of them, but most of them are part of one faction that it's called the Saviors. They're very militarized. They are the equivalent of, if we were talking in Mega Man terms, they are the Maverick Hunters, and in this case, we're the Mavericks, right? Something of that kind of relationship. So this enemy type that we're bringing, which comes from this other faction that we're kind of, for now, calling the Ark. These guys are a lot more. It's part of bringing in the beauty of the past. So these are, we'll call it, I'll try not to spoil because I'm very prone to do this, but they are more in the concept of they're robots from the past, we'll call it. But it's also very interesting because in a way they're incredibly advanced. So you have a lot of that kind of what the story is kind of giving you and what you're seeing. So you're going to see, especially we've revealed this area called the Lands of Tema, which is pretty much our snow biome. It's beautiful, snow and glacier biome, and many of these enemies are in this area. Their color palette, their attacks, their vibe, everything that they are kind of syncs with this area, which is an area that is somewhat desolate. It feels like a place that, if you were fighting one of these in an area full of snow, it's gonna give you that sense of like that samurai battle where two of these, two of them are kind of meeting each other, and it's like this completely void area, and it's just a war fought in a single minute. That's the vibe that we wanted to have. These enemies are incredibly unique. They're designed to be, I wouldn't say difficult, but definitely to teach the player about things that they haven't encountered just yet. They deal with Zura's kit in a way that other enemies don't. We'll talk more about that. But generally speaking, we want them to feel a little bit more not emotional. They're more methodical. They're more purpose-driven. They definitely come across as more surgical and more dangerous. And the environment will also help convey that. So it's all one story that mixes with the enemy design, with their attack pattern, and also with the environment where we're going to put them in.
Interesting. So I don't want people to misunderstand what you mean about this is a faction from the past. So you don't mean time travel. You just mean this is a faction that has been around for a long time, right?
Yeah, so definitely not time travel, but definitely more old and maybe kind of let's say lost through time.
Got it.
In the sense that I wouldn't call them something that is something that we dug up, like an archaeological thing, not like
Sure.
that, but definitely like compared to if you look at their design, like replicas as replicas are very humanoid. They look like humans. They were made not for war. Humans made the replicas as pretty much their view of the evolution of technology. So they're made as almost as people. They're living, breathing. They feel, they suffer, they they have emotions, they laugh. Whereas these are more true machines, and they're definitely more. They're in this area that is kind of you don't go to the lands of Tema. You don't go there. Like that's the kind of area that is pretty much so the area itself is so dangerous. The environment is so challenging to traverse. The constant snow, the icy path. Like it's just it's somewhere you just don't go. Right? It's unsafe. And some of these machines pretty much are in this area for many reasons we'll get to see during the game. So you're dealing with both like a very unwelcoming and harsh environment, and then a type of technology that is more, I wouldn't say ancient, but definitely uncommon, and by consequence incredibly dangerous. You are not prepared for what you're going to find in this area and all the secrets that you're going to have to learn of why and how all this happened. But just the biome itself is going to have a lot of the answers to kind of what happened and what's going on. But it'll definitely be a beautiful story to understand and to see how do you deal with a faction that has just has no way of interacting with you other than by force. So it's a
Right.
very interesting type of faction. There's a lot of melancholy there. There's a lot of nostalgia and also story. So it's going to be the type of enemy that you don't need it to have any dialogue to teach you so much about the world of Shape Protocol. So we're very excited about that.
Right. And so you've already brought up 2 points that I want to touch upon. One, I swear I'm not trying to get you to spoil things, but I'm just genuinely curious. So from what I'm already understanding, what we can understand from these DAUs, yes, we know that there are different factions. At this moment of recording, we don't know how many factions there are, and I'm sure we will learn in time, especially when we get closer to the game's release. I understand that the Xavier faction is very like against Zura. They're like, we gotta stop her, man. What about this new faction that the Grappler is a part of? What necessarily makes it different than just like don't mess with these guys, right? It's like should players feel some kind of moral ambiguity about these enemies from these factions? Because if since you just said like even the enemies are important to the world and to the story, including the factions, right? So like what should we be feeling towards these aren't like standard no name enemies, or like just like these aren't a Koopa Troopa or whatever, you know what I mean? They're not
Exactly.
basic. There are a
Yeah.
lot of layers that you're meticulously putting into behind each enemy to make them unforgettable and unique at the same time. You know what I mean?
Yeah, Jared, you're like the hot ones guy for games. You're such a troublemaker. Like you're so problematic. But no, it's a really good question. So I'll answer it this way. The feeling that I would like to evoke when players see one of these, it's that that feeling you get from like animation shows or whatnot, where like somebody has to fight someone and they really don't want to. It's like that pain that you get like whenever you see like two characters you just don't want them to fight. It's kind of that feeling. It's and I use like melancholy, right, generally speaking, but
Right.
there's some sort of sadness to it that you won't have time to feel because if you don't do something about it, you're probably gonna die. Like these are not the enemies that are just gonna, you're not gonna just jump on them and boop them and go on. But they're also not like meant to be impossible to deal with in the sense that that's also a testament to the distance between what you've seen before and what you're seeing now, which carries a lot of the intent. So I guess in the less cryptic way, definitely you get a different feeling that you will get from like the saviors, which the saviors are like I mentioned before, very militarized. They are pretty much the strongest faction in the world right now. They pretty much rule everything, and they're hunting you down. But they're not as in like Zura individually, the main character. You're not that special. It's more like they're hunting the last little bit of humanity that's left, and it just so happens that you're in the way of that, and you're not gonna hopefully let that happen. So you're in the way of their purpose, of what they want to accomplish. Whereas this Arc faction, their purpose is a lot more. I would say.
I just want to point out you gave the name of Arc faction.
Yeah, I mean it's Arc, the name of them. There's all of this probably like even the name Grappler. Of course, this is most of our code name.
Yeah.
So I mean, we will probably eventually like evolve that into the proper name. But definitely the Arc is the name of the faction for this specific enemy type.
I don't know if we knew that before, because I know about the Arc twins, and I was gonna bring them up, but
yeah, those are, so they're all in the same. We'll call them faction, but I wouldn't say like it's hard to explain because when you look at a faction in our game, and many of these we've talked about. So you have the saviors, you have you have the snacklets, right? They're pretty much like their own little faction. It's this adorable little robots. Then you have like something like the Arc. Whenever you think about a faction, you always think how related they are to one another. Maybe they work together, like stuff like that. When you're thinking about the Arc, it's a little bit different. It's very, very different, and I don't want to give too much of that, but it's definitely more of this sense of the unified by purpose. But most of the time, like whenever you're dealing with them, it's not like you're gonna meet them one at a time. That's not, of course, they're not that powerful. But it's definitely gonna feel a little bit more like these things are not. These type of robots definitely will feel a lot more desolate. They will feel a lot more like abandoned. Like they're in the place that they are because they are, not because there's some like somebody's directing them. Go over here, and it's gonna feel a lot more. There's a lot more story to it that will come across through your experience, not only with combat with them, but as you understand more and more of what happened, and why are they in the state that they are right now. It's a completely different vibe to the saviors, which are very, very surgical, and they which is something that I'm not really spoiling, but it's valuable to say that we will have some of these factions like through the story move around biomes. So they will, of course, maybe they don't show up in one place for now, and then eventually they will. Things like that make the world a little bit more spicy, but that just makes sense for a more militarized faction like the Xaviers. But the Arc are different in many, many, many ways. So the interactions between you and them will be materially different than what you could do with like the Saviors or the Snacklets or things like that, for sure.
This has been another episode of Breaking Protocol from the Razzle Dazzle Show. Want to help with Shade Protocol becomes? Join the Shade Protocol Discord server to follow new DAUs, vote in polls, and share your voice with the dev team directly. Go follow Shade Protocol on Kickstarter, and if you like this breakdown, check out our past spotlights and interviews with Kendall right here on the Razzle Dazzle Show. Remember, the future of Emeria is still being written.